So it's been about 7 months since I sold my 1998 BMW Z3 and picked up my 2016 Audi TT that you guys see right here. And so today, we're going to be talking about what I missed about my Z3. What's up guys, hope you're having a great day today. I didn't want to make this video for a little bit because I feel like it came off a bit as regretting buying my TT. No, I love my TT, it's been a great car, but we're just going to talk a bit more about what I miss about my first car, my Z3. And I think enough time has passed so it doesn't come off as regretful. So let's get in the TT and let's go. So, the first thing that I miss about my BMW Z3 was the exhaust. And I have to admit, this seems like a bit of an unfair comparison because of the fact that the TT here has a stock exhaust on it, and the Z3 came with an aftermarket exhaust on it. So it's probably not the most fair comparison, but I will say though, going from the Z3 to the TT feels like going from just a crazy banshee of a sounding car to something more civilized, you know? And I don't know how I feel about that. I'm not really one to be civilized, like I have manners and stuff like that, but I am loud and proud and very abhorrent about it. I mean, hello, I drive a bright yellow car. I mean, what do you expect out of me? But just for some comparison sakes, if you guys haven't heard it before, I'll play you some clips of the Z3 starting up and revving, and then I'll play some clips of the TT starting up and revving as well. Keep in mind, the Z3 has no rev limiter on it. You can basically rev it to redline, versus this one, it stops you at about 3,800 RPM or 4,000, something like that. So I'll play some clips here, just keep that in mind. Now, you got to admit, that does sound quite different from one another, and the Z3 definitely does sound a whole lot better. But, I mean, I don't know. I can always solve this one with an aftermarket exhaust on this car, and maybe in the future I will. For now, though, it's been very nice to have daily because of the fact that, I mean, on the other side, yeah, the Z3 sounded better, but this one, it drones a whole lot less. And, I mean, I took that Z3 on a lot of road trips, and I have to say, the droning, it got to me. It got to me badly. Now, the next thing that I missed about my BMW Z3 is the old school feeling of it. This car, it is so high tech, it's crazy. Like, coming into this car, even though it's a 2016 and it's 9 years old, it also will get me out of the rain. Holy crap, it is coming down right now if you guys can't tell. But coming into this car, it's a lot more high tech than the interior of my Z3. I'll put a picture of the interior of the Z3 right here. And now compare it to this. Like, I mean, come on, you guys have to admit, virtual gauge cluster there. There's little screens in each of these vents right here. There's automatic headlights, automatic wipers. There's cruise control that works. Z3 didn't have that one, let me tell you that. There's a turbocharger in the engine. There's a dual clutch transmission. There's Bluetooth. All of this stuff versus the Z3, it's very old school. And that old school feeling, I like it sometimes. Like, I get why guys have classic cars now and then keep, you know, like in modern cars, their daily driver. Sometimes it's just good to be reminded of the old school days. And I mean, this is coming from somebody born in 2004 and that car being a 98. I mean, even then though, it's like the old school, it just feels nice to have, you know? Now, don't get me wrong, I love the new school stuff. I love this gauge cluster. It is legitimately one of the reasons why I wanted an Audi to begin with. But sometimes just having that raw feeling and no, like, I guess, safety limiters, or well, certain safety limiters not being there, such as, you know, traction control, such as the rev limiter on this thing, things like that. You sometimes just like it to not have the grannies. I mean, I think that's why people like the Porsche Carrera GT so much. It doesn't try to protect you as much. Versus this car, it's very handholdy, it'll guide you through the stuff. And it's not really the most, I guess, swing out there and you're on your own type of thing. Ultimately, I will say, yeah, the TT is a lot more safe, but I'm really happy I had the Z3 as a first car because it taught me all of the stuff of, you know, here's how not to be a moron. Here's how to drive normally and drive safely versus this car, you know, cruise control, things like that. If I had cruise control on the Z3, I wouldn't learn much about pedal control and how to properly figure out the proper amount of throttle to give a car at a certain period of time. Now, coming on out from the TT into the rain again, we're going to talk about the third thing I miss about my BMW Z3, and that was the driving experience. Now, the driving experience on the TT versus the Z3 is something I've talked about quite a bit, but to summarize it basically, the Z3 was a lot more raw and kind of going back to the whole thing about no grannies, no hand holding, versus the TT does let you hand hold a lot. This is kind of the same way with that. This isn't as raw, this isn't as unfiltered, and this isn't as crazy as the Z3 was in certain aspects. But then obviously the TT has its own aspects where it does shine a lot. Like I've said before, this is a much more well-rounded car than the Z3 was, and I have to say, while yeah, it does daily driving and more simplistic things a lot better than the Z3, this car is a lot more kind of stale when it comes to the back roads. Yeah, you get to have the dual clutch transmission and you get to shift from like fourth to second and just make it a lot of fun there. But at the same time though, sometimes you want to just have a slow shift from fourth to third, you know? You want to be able to just put it in third and just rip it and just let it go do its thing. Versus here, it's like, oh, I get to go into third, let me go and send it, and then I just hear a loud DSG fart going into fourth, and it's like, what? Why is that the case? Versus the Z3, it shifts slower, but like, it feels more authentic, you know? DSGs and dual clutch transmissions in general, they are a whole lot of fun. They are very great with performance, but at the same time though, it's robotic in a way. I don't know how to explain it, but it's not as raw and unfiltered as something like the Z3 was. Now, I know I had an automatic Z3, but still though, something about that torque converter, crappy 4-speed automatic, it just gives me some nostalgia. I hate that transmission, and I would probably never want to own a car with that transmission ever again, but like, it just feels a lot more, you feel more, I wouldn't say in control, but like when you put it into third from fourth, it just feels like it wants to go more, and it's just, I can't figure out how to explain it. I think since the fact that it has less gears, it makes every gear much more enjoyable, versus here it's like, okay, we're in second, let's go into third, let's go into third, let's go into fourth, you know? It's definitely a lot more pungent in this car to shift gears, versus that one, it lets you enjoy the gears a whole lot more. Now, maybe what I'm saying is absolute nonsense, or maybe it's nostalgia coded by, I don't even know, just nostalgia. So I'm not sure on this, but ultimately, I have to say this car, while it's more well-rounded, sometimes I just miss the rawness of the Z3, you know? Now, that leads us into the fourth thing that I miss about my BMW Z3, and that is the community behind it. Now, the TT has a great community. It is a large community, and they are very well with each other. I will say that. But geographically speaking, a lot of them are based in Europe and in European countries. Versus the Z3, since it was built in South Carolina, a lot of their community has been American-based. And I have to say, as someone who lives in America on the East Coast near South Carolina, you see a lot of Z3 enthusiasts. I know quite a few people with Z3s. I have photos with other people's Z3s. Versus my TT, right? I have not seen anybody, or at least not gotten to spend enough time with anybody who has a a third-gen TT. And I've never seen another Vegas yellow TT in my life. The only spot where I've seen it is on the internet. I've seen a few people, you know, overseas who have Vegas yellow TTs, but here in America, in person, never. I think I am probably one of the few only people in America with a Vegas yellow Audi TT. Versus like my Z3, right? I had a clone. I knew a guy who had a cloned spec of my Z3 with him. He had a 1996, I had a 1998. But we were basically clones of one another, except I had more blacked out things, whilst his was more silver. So in switching over to my Audi TT, I definitely will say I lost a bit of community in that I haven't really been able to see many Audi TT owners. I know of like 2 guys. That's literally about it. When I go to Cars and Coffee, I am probably one of the only Audi TTs there. And if there is another Audi TT, it's never a Mark III Audi TT. To summarize what I'm trying to say here, essentially, because of my proximity to South Carolina where the BMW Z3s are built, I got to have, you know, I got to meet a lot of Z3 owners that way. Versus with the TT, because they're built in Austria, I've noticed that a lot of the community is European based. So I don't get to, you know, hang out with them as much or spend time with the other TT owners because, you know, I'm not in Europe. And the final thing that I miss about my BMW Z3 is the community behind it. There's something I saw online recently. It was basically that your second car is going to be faster, cooler, more expensive, all of this stuff, but nothing beats the memories of your first car. I don't know why, that just felt really deep to say. And I think it is deep because I agree with it so much. There is so much stuff that I have done with my BMW Z3 and so many memories behind that. One of my first car groups that I was a part of was in my BMW Z3. Some of the coolest drives I've been on were in my BMW Z3. Now, obviously, I've taken this car to Highlands, which is a fairly cool drive too, but I don't know. I got to do group drives in that Z3. I got to bond with people in that Z3. I got to work under the hood of that Z3 with my friends. And I think with some of my friends, I wouldn't be as good of friends with them if I had this TT, because we wouldn't have nights where we're working on our cars together, you know? I love living with the memories. It's great. And I think there's definitely a big part of nostalgia when I say this one, because it's not like the memories are going to go anywhere, but something about it, something about just the memories with that Z3, with that bright blue convertible, especially with it being my first car, getting the car, all of that stuff. Getting the TT, I have to say, something about it, it just didn't feel as special as the Z3. I don't know how to explain it, except for the fact of, it just felt special, I guess. Like, it just felt so, it felt like a different time versus the time I'm in right now. Now, obviously, was I having, you know, struggles during that time? Of course I was. But something about that time in my life, I just felt a lot more carefree, just go do whatever I want, drop whatever I'm doing. And obviously I can still technically go do that right now, but I mean, I got classes, I got things I need to get done, and I got a schedule that is so highly constrictive that if I break one little thing on it, my entire schedule goes tumbling. Versus back then, it's like, oh, you know, I can go drop 30 minutes to go use my Z3 as a hairdryer. I'm fine with that. So, I don't know. Part of it, I guess, is the memories. Part of it is just the position I was in when I was at that age. I don't know how to explain it, except just, I love my TT. I love it so much, but like I said at the beginning, nothing beats the memories of your first car. And on that note, I guess today's video is in fact over. Keep in mind, I did want to wrap this video up by saying I love this TT. I said at the beginning, I love this TT. It is amazing. It is great. And ultimately, I did need to get rid of my BMW Z3. It was getting too unreliable. I think I just didn't get a good car. And ultimately, I just had to leave it and let it go for something that's a bit more reliable and just a bit more newer, I guess. Because, I mean, this car's been great. It's been a lot of fun. Reliable is the big thing for this one. I'm getting well off topic. If you like this video, leave a like. If you didn't, leave a dislike. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you guys miss your old cars? Let me know that too. I'd love to hear your stories. And if you like what you're seeing, leave a subscribe. And just like that, I'm out. I'm gonna go drive this car home and get myself out of the rain. Peace.